When you hear this,
they've got him again!
And this,
Backhand, he scored!
And this,
oh boy, what a move by Embiid!
You think of us, we are sports. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Sports Bash Saturday, back here on 97.3 ESPN, 12 noon. Hope you're all having a great day out there. It is the final NFL weekend, also the days leading up to the national championship games. We got a lot of football to get through today on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on YouTube at 97.3 ESPN. Sure, Billy Schwein and Brad Quas give their predictions for the game. You can give your predictions for the game tonight as well at 609-403-0973 is the text board if listening on 97.3 ESPN FM. If you're listening on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, you can DM the show through the app. Thanks to First Bank Seattle City for joining the conversation. We are also live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. There's a plethora of ways you can get in touch with the show today. I am Josh Hennig at Josh Hennig on Twitter. Coming up on the show, we got two great guests coming up to preview the national championship game on Monday night. We have Israel Troop. He's a former wide receiver at the University of Georgia. He is now the co-host of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast and the Believe Podcasting Network. He joins us coming up at 25 past the hour. And then an hour and 20 from now, we will talk with Emory Hunt about the entire NFL. Emory Hunt, founder of Football Game Plan. You've heard him plenty of times here on 97.3 ESPN. He will get into it with us about the Eagles, Jaylen Hurts, the NFL playoffs. We have everything covered for you football-wise today, and we will also review for you later in the show some picks and bets I have for the weekend, thanks to our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Now, we got all that business out of the way. Let's get into the Eagles, because it's becoming clear that this game tonight is not going to be the most consequential game. Now, people like me are going to watch this game no matter what. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm not paying attention. I'm not watching it because, frankly, if anybody knows me knows, I mean, I'll watch almost any football I can get my hands on, right? So, obviously within reason. I mean, yeah, I was out this summer and somebody had a CFL game on TV and I watched that, but I didn't really know half the players on the teams. But the point is that tonight's Eagles game is about a couple things. One, obviously it's an opportunity for the younger players to get involved. The Eagles have three straight home wins this year. They're trying to extend that rushing attack for another week. Obviously, Devonta Smith may or may not get that rookie record, which, frankly, I feel like everyone I've heard this week has said that when it comes to records, you might as well start putting asterisks on things because with an expanded season, it's a lot easier to break records. You know, TJ Watt has a chance to break Michael Strahan's sack record. Devonta Smith has a chance to break Deshaun Jackson's rookie receiving yards record. Cooper Kupp, long shot, but he does have a mathematical shot to break Calvin Johnson's receiving record. And I got to tell you guys, if they break those records, I mean, good for them, but I could care less. You know, we're getting to the point with some of these stats that I feel like somebody is going to take any of those numbers and use it against somebody. So, you know, and that's part of the problem I've had with some of these numbers. You know, it used to be cool if somebody was to break a record or was to do something like that. Now it just feels like, you know, people just want to be complaining about everything. Which gets me to the game tonight. Look, the Eagles are mostly going to play their backups tonight, or at least who's available of their backups. And so are the Cowboys. The Cowboys didn't even fly part of their team to Dallas. You know, they have no Darian Thompson. They have no Jayron Kearse. They're without their secondary. They're without their starters because of combination of COVID and injuries, COVID protocols and injuries. As I say, I feel like I've said this about 100 times in the last 20 plus months. Just because you're on the COVID list doesn't mean you tested positive or you have symptoms. It's a whole thing. But the point is that the Cowboys are with both their starting corners, Diggs and Brown. The Eagles are prospectively going to be without some players. One of them obviously being Miles Sanders because of his broken hand. There's a possibility that neither Howard or Scott clear protocols in time to play today. We won't know for sure until around 4 p.m. It's just interesting to see what happens today, how people react, because I have to give him credit. Billy Schweim and Brad Quas brought up a great point before we came on now. And that is this. If Gardner Minshew plays well again tonight, everyone needs to chill out. I understand we live in a world where it's what have you done for me lately and recency bias. But if you're going to take anything from tonight's game about the Eagles or the Cowboys, you are dazed and confused, my friend. Tonight's game is turning more and more out to be, as Mike Quick said earlier today on 97.3 ESPN, a glorified preseason game. And Mike Quick's going to call the game tonight, right here on 97.3 ESPN. We are your home for Eagles football in South Jersey. Mike Quick said it over an hour ago, that tonight is going to be basically a glorified preseason game. Now, I don't want it to be that because, frankly, I don't like watching bad football. Now, it's not a guarantee it's going to be a bad football game. Who knows? It could be the greatest backup game in all time, for all we know. That's why we watch the games. That's why they play the games. But you can't take anything from this game tonight. So with that being said, who are the Eagles? They're not the team you're going to see tonight. The Eagles are the team that you saw for the last few weeks. They are a team that starts out slowly and then ramps up and gets better as the game goes on. The Eagles are turning into more and more like an old muscle car. They need about 10 minutes to warm up to really get maximum ability at this point. But once they get ramped up and warmed up, they got firepower. That running game is legit. I think that people have underrated the year that Devonta Smith has had. I think Devonta Smith has... I told this to Mike Gillett earlier this week. I think Devonta Smith has a higher ceiling than Justin Jefferson. I really do. Because the problem with Justin Jefferson is he's a phenomenal talent who walked into a perfect situation. He walked into a situation where you had a team that had a void. Think about this with the Vikings. The Vikings, when they traded away Stephon Diggs, they had a void of 100 targets a year, basically. During Stephon Diggs' career in Minnesota, those 5 seasons, he averaged 106 targets a year. So when they traded him away, and by the way, Stephon Diggs next year led the NFL in receptions with the Buffalo Bills. So you lost that guy. And then you asked Justin Jefferson, who already is a talented receiver, to fill that void. It's not like he was being asked to carry the offense. It's not like he was to be the number one receiver. That was Adam Thielen's job. Devonta Smith came to Philadelphia to an offense that nobody was sure about, with a quarterback that half the people out there hate for some reason. And Devonta Smith has more targets this year than any Eagles receiver last year. Yeah. Think about that for 1 minute. Smith came to an offense that was one of the worst in the NFL last year. The Eagles were 26 in points per game. The Eagles were 24th in total yards last year. They were 30th in turnovers allowed offensively. There's so many numbers that were so bad for them last year. And like I said, the Eagles' leader in targets last year was Greg Ward. It wasn't even Zach Ertz. Greg Ward had 79 targets last year. And then the Eagles draft the Heisman Trophy winner. When was the last time you could say that about the Eagles? I'm not even sure if the Eagles have ever drafted a Heisman Trophy winner. I'd have to go through the full draft history. But off the top of my head, I can't think of one. Sure, they had Herschel Walker, but he wasn't drafted by them, right? They never drafted a high-profile player like this before. Devonta Smith is arguably the most high-profile receiver the team has drafted in 20 years. And what happens? He comes in here and he changes the entire game. He had 100 targets this year. If he doesn't play another snap, he is already more productive than anyone on the Eagles last year. Devonta Smith's 875 receiving yards would have led the team by 300 plus yards last year. Devonta Smith this year has 5 receiving touchdowns. Greg Ward had 6 last year. Devonta Smith is averaging 14 yards per reception. 14. The only guys who had better than that last year were 2 guys that had less than 10 receptions on the year. Alshon Jeffrey and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. And I don't think anybody in this audience is bold enough to say that the 2020 version of Alshon or J-Jaw are better than Devonta Smith. So, what are we talking about here? We're talking about a receiver that has changed the game. Now, I understand you might not have drafted him if you would have drafted Justin Jefferson in the first place. Maybe Smith wouldn't be here. But here's what I can promise you. That Devonta Smith has done more with less than Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson has a polished veteran quarterback who averages a huge amount of stats every single year. Listen, when I say Kirk Cousins' name, people roll their eyes. I understand why. He's Kirk Cousins, all right? But if I told you that from 2015 to 2021, Kirk Cousins has averaged over 4,000 passing yards a season. He has averaged almost 29 touchdown passes a season. He averages 10 interceptions per season. He averages these numbers. He averages 67.8% completion percentage from 2015 to 2021. Kirk Cousins right now has 13,000 passing yards fewer than Drew Bledsoe in his career. And he has just over 10,000 less than Joe Montana. That's who Justin Jefferson has throwing to him. On the flip side, Devonta Smith is in an offense that has become very run-heavy dominant with a quarterback who is still green, honestly. I love Jaylen Hurts. Anyone who knows me listens knows I'm a believer in Jaylen. But he is still raw as a talent. He is still learning how to be an NFL quarterback. And frankly, I don't know if he'll ever be on Kirk Cousins' level as a passer. So for Devonta Smith to come into an offense where he is the number one receiver, he has no help at the receiver position. The second best receiver on the team is Dallas Goedert, the tight end. And the third best receiver on the team, I guess, is Quez Watkins. It might be Miles Sanders if Miles stopped dropping the ball and getting injured. I don't think we have given Devonta enough credit for the incredible job he has done his rookie year here in Philadelphia. And whether he breaks the rookie receiving record tonight or not, I don't care. I think Devonta is still a stud. And I think this is one of the smartest draft picks this franchise has had in the last 20 years. And like I said before, I genuinely believe that Devonta Smith's ceiling is higher than Justin Jefferson. I think Smith has better hands than Jefferson. I think Smith is a more dynamic route runner than Jefferson. And I think Smith is doing more with less compared to Justin Jefferson. Now, I don't know what Justin Jefferson's career is going to be like. He's putting up monster numbers, and I'm happy for him. I like seeing guys be successful. I'm not one of these people who wishes ill will on people left and right. I'm not one of those people. Justin Jefferson can win you a fantasy football league, maybe make you an extra few bucks. If Justin Jefferson can make himself some extra money and set himself up, more power to him. Let's do it. Let's go. So I have nothing against Justin Jefferson, but I'm just telling you, the Eagles have a star in Smith. He is easily the best receiver this franchise has had since Terrell Owens had a jersey on. He is more well-rounded than Deshaun Jackson. He has better hands, in my opinion, than Jeremy Maclin, and I think he's a better route runner than even Maclin was. And Maclin was a very good route runner. To me, if you go back through the last 30 years of this franchise, the two most talented receivers until now were acquired outside the organization. They were not drafted by the team. It was Terrell Owens for that very short period, and then those 3-4 years that Irving Fryer was here. They were the best, most well-rounded receivers I ever saw in the last 30 years. And Smith, to me, has that ability. And I'm excited to see it. So whether he breaks the record tonight or not, it means nothing to me. To me, I think Smith is already a star in the making. And if you as an Eagles fan aren't excited about that, I don't know what gets you excited. Josh Hennig here on Sports Batch Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. We'll dig deeper into the NFL, the Eagles, and more with Emery Hunt from Football Game Plan coming up at 1:25 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN. Also coming up in about less than 8 minutes from now, we'll talk with Israel Troop. Now, Israel Troop played at Georgia, all right? He was a wide receiver, and he's now the co-host of the Believe in the Georgia Dogs podcast. And this Monday night on 97.3 ESPN, you can hear the national championship game. This game on Monday night is going to be the complete opposite of what we saw in the first game. And I understand for a lot of people out there, they don't know what to think of this game. I understand a lot of people out there are looking at this Georgia-Alabama rematch again, and they're wondering if it's even worth their time. I'm here to tell you it is. I think it's going to be a much more competitive game this time. The last time Georgia-Alabama played a national championship game, it went to overtime. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that we can undersell the fact that these are two of the most talent-rich teams in all of college football. Numerous draft picks will come from this game. Tons of them. And when I look at this matchup, I understand that Georgia looked really bad in the first game. And I'll give you that. I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. Here's what I am going to tell you. Georgia has a stupid amount of talent on their team. They have talent at running back. If George Perkins comes back and plays for this game, I mean, that changes everything as well. There's a large possibility he does play in this game. But there's a ton of talent on this team at numerous positions. I mean, this kid, Brock Bowers, I mean, this kid's going to be a future NFL pro, and he's just a freshman, a tight end. These running backs like McIntosh and White, they're talented. And then this Georgia defense, Nakobe Dean would look really good in the Eagles uniform. I'm just saying, right? People talk about linebackers. Dean would look amazing in the Eagles uniform. Kendrick is a talented cornerback. This team has tons of talent. So don't undersell the first game. I think that this Georgia-Alabama game is going to be way better than the first one. We'll talk more about it coming up on the other side with former Georgia wide receiver Israel Troop. He's the co-host of the Believe in the Georgia Dogs podcast. Coming up next, right here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN, and we'll get to your thoughts and comments a little bit later this hour. Keep them coming in. I see comments coming in on the YouTube channel. I see text coming in at 609-403-0973. With all that and more right here on Sports Bash Saturday. Next.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. It's the final week of the 2021 regular season with the Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, it's Eagles-Dallas is what it is.
This is a big game. There's nothing normal about playing against the Dallas Cowboys.
Pre-game coverage begins tonight at 7 p.m. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 8 p.m. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Hey, Coach, we need to score. What's the call?
We're going to wing it. We're calling the pick.
The pick?
Yeah, the one, the only, the original Pick-a-Lily Inn to score some of South Jersey's best wings and homestyle favorites.
But, Coach, it's the middle of the game.
Pre-game, post-game, during the game, the pick's wings, tails, and ears are always the right call. They're right on Route 206 in Chemung, or check them out on Facebook. Now, who wants mild and who wants hot?
The Pick-a-Lily Inn.
At Church's, we're doing 10 pieces of our crave-worthy comfort made spicy or classic. That's 10 legs and thighs packed with bold flavor. That's how we do value. So you can do the Church's 10 starting at $10.99 deal. Church's, bringing the down-home flavor. Offer valid at participating locations.
For a healthier life, trust the experts at Cape Regional Health System. Cape Regional Health System serves Cape May County with high-quality comprehensive care, including Cape Regional Medical Center, 3 urgent care facilities, Cape Regional Physicians Associates with over 50 primary care and specialists, radiology, lab, wound care, and physical therapy services, plus Penn Radiation Oncology at the Brodesser Cancer Center. Call 609-463-CAPE for more information. Cape Regional Health System, for a healthier life.
Today on Hey Culligan's Smart Home, Smarter Water Softener, here's Kevin.
Hey Culligan, can a smart water softener lift those heavy salt bags for me?
Kevin, it can.
Wait, it can?
Yep, the smart high-efficiency water softener from Culligan can alert your dealer when the salt needs to be replaced, and they'll do it for you, so your water stays soft and you stay away from lifting the bags.
I mean, I could lift them if I wanted.
No judgment here, Kevin. We're happy to do it, and we're already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with the local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. You asked for it, and Matt Blatt Nissan has agreed. AJ the Trade Man has extended the sale because used vehicles are still at an all-time high. So drive directly to Matt Blatt Nissan, and AJ will give you top dollar for your trade or even pay you cash on the spot. So cancel that service appointment. Don't even wash it because Matt Blatt Nissan needs your trade. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Bundling car and renter's insurance with Geico is so easy, your neighbors are probably already doing it. So why not ask? Just say,
Hey, did you get your hair cut? It looks cool. Also, have you saved even more by bundling with Geico?
Or maybe,
Hey, did you get your hair cut? It looks weird. Not weird, cool. Anyway, have you bundled with Geico?
or try,
Hey, did you get your hair cut? It doesn't look weird at all. Anywho, have you saved by bundling with, hey, easy with that rake.
bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors.
At
Ocean First Bank, our first thought is you. We put you first in all we do. Community banking for a century. We treat you like your family. Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Now, more than ever, having access to your accounts from the comfort of your home is important. That's why we offer top-rated digital banking services that allow you to do things like open accounts and pay bills online, even deposit checks from your phone.
Whatever you need, whatever you dream, let's make it a reality. Ocean First Bank, putting you first.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Opportunity Lender.
Pete from Chickie and Pete's, and we love to party. Order now for your next celebration. Chickies and Pete's online catering to-go menu features more than 24 of your Chickie and Pete's favorites. Seafood, burgers, salads, and of course our signature crab fries. Click catering to see our menu, chickieandpete's.com.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
College Football National Championship game. You can hear it right here this Monday night on 97.3 ESPN. Georgia-Bama Part 2. I think it's going to be a very different game. I think it's going to be much closer. We'll dig deeper into it right now with the co-host of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast. He is former Georgia wide receiver Israel Troop, joining us right now on 97.3 ESPN. Israel, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing good. And, I want to get off to a start here. Do you agree with me? Do you think this game is going to be a lot closer than the first one?
Yes, I think it is. Watching a little bit of media day to day, I think both sides think it's going to be a lot closer this time around.
I know for some people, the one thing they have in their mind is not just the SEC game this year, but the championship game a few years ago when Alabama won in overtime. Talk about what are the differences between that Georgia team and this Georgia team?
I think we got a little bit more stability as far as more player-driven team. That year we had a lot of superstars on that team: Roquan Smith, Dominique Sanders, Baker, and all those guys. But I think this time around, I think we're a lot closer as a team from what I've seen. I think, especially when you go back to the Michigan game. They took the loss, they took the criticism from the SEC championship game and turned it around in the semifinal and beat a really good Michigan team, especially when nobody thought they could do it.
You mentioned the Michigan game. I thought you guys brought up a great point on the podcast about the offensive line. I thought the way that they shut down Hutchinson and Nojabe of Michigan was incredible. I mean, they literally just told those guys to go home and don't come back by the end of that game. What is it about this offensive line that was able to flip that switch like that?
I think they took it personally. It's really easy to kind of isolate one person, with a Will Anderson, but it's really hard to dominate two. And I think we did a really good job of dominating two really good, potentially first rounders in that game. If you watch it, you can just tell the different mentality that they had, different toughness and physicality they had in that game. Stetson didn't even touch the ground. He was able to escape the pocket simply because they did a really good job of blocking up front. We had a lot of running lanes. Zeus and Cook and McIntosh, all those guys got busy in the backfield. So, that just shows, one, we have a great O-line coach, and two, I think those guys just took it personally from getting manhandled in the SEC championship game.
Former Georgia wide receiver Israel Troop joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. He's the co-host of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast and the Believe Podcast Network. You mentioned Stetson Bennett. Tell the audience about Stetson, because I feel like if you know Stetson, he's almost like a legend with him, being the postman and all that stuff. So what is Stetson Bennett coming into this game? Because I feel like a lot of the country, they might not have seen a ton of Georgia this year. Maybe they saw like a couple games here and there, but maybe the last thing they saw of him was just the SEC championship game and the Michigan game. So paint the picture of who he is as a quarterback.
Man, he is, the picture of character. He come in, especially the year I saw him talking. He was the scout team quarterback last time we played for a national championship. So, for him to come in again, after being offered and to do the things that he's done and to beat out a 5-star guy and plenty of other 5 stars on their roster, that just goes to show what kind of kid he is. I mean, the kid has a flip phone, so he doesn't get distracted by the iPhone. That just kind of shows you what kind of kid he is. He's a tough kid. He blocked out the noise because, the JT talk came in after the SC championship game and all this stuff. He blocked out the noise and becomes the Orange Bowl MVP. He accounted for over 330 yards of Georgia's whole entire offense. So, he's different, and I'm glad he's on our team. I tell you that.
Another guy who's different, I think a lot of people will love to know if he's, what he could do, if he will do anything in this game. What's the status? Do you know anything about George Pickens? Is he going to be playing in this game? Could he make an impact on this game?
From all accounts and purposes, from what I heard, I think he's full go. He was full go against Michigan. I don't think they want to give him 70 plays in the game just because of his knee and everything. But he's going to play a crucial role in this game. Him, Burton, Jackson. I see a lot of our receivers who've been hurt, at the beginning of the season coming back and being big for us in this game. We know about Bowers. He's the best tight end in the country, which, he still should have won the Mackey Award, but we're not going to talk about that. They're going to key on him. He had a really big game against them in the championship game. We saw what he did this past game against Michigan. I think Fitzpatrick and Washington also have to have a big game on Monday. But I see Coach Monken and that staff. Coach Monken's been a wizard. Outside the SC championship game, he's called some really good games. For him, I think, and Stetson, I think they got to stay on schedule. I think the game plan needs to be around what Stetson does well. Looking back on the last 2 games that he has played against Alabama, he's been winning. He's won the first quarter, but we kind of get away from what we do. The run sets up the pass, mixing it up. We did a good job last week of throwing on first downs, something that we haven't done pretty much all year. We kind of run on first down, but mix it up, make sure the wizard across the field doesn't pick up on anything. And I think we'll be fine.
You mentioned Brock Bowers. This guy is a stud, and he's only his first year at Georgia. How high is his ceiling? Because when I watch him, I don't know what you see, Israel, but I see some George Kittle in this dude.
Man, I see some George Kittle. I see some Travis Kelce, but he just has the speed to go along with it. You can't teach speed, and this kid has it. He's only going to get better, as he hits the weight room, as he perfects his right run and things like that. So, this kid's ceiling is unmatched, in my opinion. I think he can get better and better each year. He's a humble kid, just from watching him. He goes to work every day. He doesn't mind putting his hand in the dirt, that's what you get with most tight ends who like catching the football. They don't like to put their hand in the dirt, but he'll go out there, he'll block, he'll put his hand in the dirt and mix it up with some defensive end, big linebackers and things like that. So he's a very unselfish player. And you can see when you're unselfish and things like that, you reap the benefits. And he's balling this year. He's had a great year, especially coming as a freshman. So you can only imagine how much better he's going to get, as time goes on.
College football national championship game this Monday night. You can hear it right here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. We're joined on the phone right now by former Georgia wide receiver Israel Troop. He's the co-host of the Believe in the Georgia Dogs podcast and the Believe Podcasting Network. What is the biggest challenge, not with the last name Anderson, on Alabama's defense that concerns you for Georgia's offense?
Man, me and Corey had this discussion the other day on our podcast. Normally when you face a Alabama defense, you got Fitzpatrick and all those guys that came through there, Clayton Dix and all those. But name a guy outside of Alabama that you hear consistently. They have Battle, but he's one of the only ones that you hear outside of Will Anderson. But they do a really good job, of playing the gaps and things like that. So, they may not have the big name as Will Anderson, but they're still Alabama. They're still a really good defense. And I think with them having the youth that they have, the inexperience that they have, we're going to have to exploit that at some point in this game on Monday. They do a really bad job sometimes of tackling in space. They will bust the coverage every once in a while, and they don't really get to the quarterback as much. So we're going to have to find some ways to be successful on what they do bad. Pete Golden is a really good coordinator, and we all know who's the brains behind the operation. That's Nick Saban. But we're going to have to do something a lot of things well in order to keep them off balance. And I think if we keep them off balance, we stay on schedule. And the main thing is not to panic. I think we'll be fine in the ball game on Monday.
Let's flip it over to Georgia's defense, because you mentioned earlier there's no Roquan Smith, for example, on this defense. There's no name guy on the defense. But I got to tell you, man, if any people in our area, we have Eagle fans up here, we have Giant fans up here, we have Jet fans up here, and any one of those teams, I think would love to have a guy like a Lewis or a guy like a Nakobe Dean. These guys are just studs. They may not be on the name recognition of Roquan, but I think that these guys are just phenomenally talented.
Man, and it goes back to what I said earlier about this team being one. They play together. It's not one's just looking out for himself or anything like that. They play together. You got Nolan Smith, Kobe Dean, Jordan Davis. You got Wyatt. You got all those guys that are playing for one another. You got a freshman corner in Ringo. You got a senior in Kendrick who's been to the show before, so he'll bring a lot of experience in that. So, we just got to play together. We got to play together and do the things that got us there. I think we did a really good job of mixing pressures, mixing zone coverage and mixing man coverage in the Michigan game. Kind of confused them a little bit because guess what? They studied Alabama film, I'm sure, because we didn't do anything of that nature against Alabama. You didn't see Jordan Davis playing patty cake with the offensive linemen, and McNamara and the other quarterback just throwing down the field. No, they actually got after them. You see Nakobe Dean running sideline to sideline, making a tackle in the backfield. This team, this defense has shown this year that they can ball. And I think that Coach Lanning and that whole staff over there just needs to just go out there, throw all your bullets at them. If they beat you a couple of times, they are. They are Alabama, and they recruit just like we do. But at the same time, don't leave any stone unturned. You got to throw everything at them. And we're better than them, in my opinion. As far as a whole team, I think we're better, especially defensively. So we just got to go out there and not play scared and just go out there and make plays.
Is there a key to speeding up the pass rush? Because I felt like what Cincinnati did was they sped up the pass rush, and that flustered Bryce Young for about 3 quarters until Cincinnati just ran out of steam. I don't think Georgia would run out of steam like Cincinnati would. I think there's more talent there. So how does Georgia speed up the pass rush to replicate what Cincinnati did?
I think with Cincinnati didn't have the depth to keep it going, but I think we have the depth. I think we got to roll in defensive linemen, fresh defensive linemen. I think our linebackers are going to be fine, but if they get tired, they got to come out. I think it's going to have to be an unselfish game from a lot of our big-time players. Walker and all those guys, you get tired, hey, come out, get you a blow for a couple of plays, and then go back in. I think it's just going to be an all-around effort from everybody on that defensive side. Alabama's really good. With Joe Mechie out, they established the run game against Cincinnati, even though they only played a 3-man front. That's something else. But I think we got to be able to stop the run, first of all, and then we got to be able to contain Williams and all those stallions they got on the outside. Like I said, we're going to have to make some zone, make some man coverages in there. We have to get pressure on Bryce Young. We have to make him uncomfortable. I don't care what anybody says. Cincinnati deserved to be in that game. Why? Because they made that game was a really good game. The score is not indicative of the team that I saw. I saw a team that came out there playing balls to the wall, played defensively. Garner and all those guys had a really good game out wide. So, we just got to get pressure on Bryce Young. We got to make him uncomfortable. And if it was me, if I'm a defensive coach, I'm looking at that game in particular because they did a really good job of flustering Bryce Young, especially in the first half, and him making mistakes. So I'm looking forward to seeing what we do defensively, especially after what happened in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, Cincinnati was like a car that ran out of gas about a 1/10 of a mile from the finish line, then just basically had to put the car in neutral and roll to the finish line at that point. They just didn't have enough to get there. You mentioned
I think if they had a couple of guys, I think they'd have been ridiculous, and I think they'd have made it a lot more exciting if they'd had just a few more guys on their side of the ball.
Absolutely. You mentioned some of the Bama wide receivers. I want to ask you about them because you played wide receiver at Georgia. What is it about these guys? Mechie and Williams this year, Devonta Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley. How does Alabama keep ending up with these? They're like wide receiver now. What's going on here?
Man, I don't know what factory they're getting these guys from, but they're balling. And you look at them. You look at Devonta Smith, Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, he ain't bigger than a light pole. You know what I mean? So to do the things they do, to be as physical as they are too, I mean, they're unselfish as well. They blocked one another. You see Williams this past week against Cincinnati. He was a decoy most of the game, and they're tough. I mean, he got hit on the punt return. I mean, he came back 2 plays later. You know, that just kind of goes to show the mentality that Alabama has. We're not going back down. And to have those guys, they don't rebuild at receiver. They just reload. You know, they got a couple over here that just open the pack and a new one comes out. You know what I mean? So I don't know where they're coming from or how they're doing it, but like you said, they're pretty much becoming wide receiver U now because they're ridiculous. Man, you had Waddle and Devontae and Judy and Rigg. I mean, you got so many that have come out of Alabama that, you know, was a power football team, and now they're throwing the ball and slinging it around.
Israel, before I let you go, and I appreciate you jumping on today, Israel Troop is the co-host of the Believe in the Georgia Dogs podcast on the Believe Podcasting Network. Is there a guy or two that you want to tell the audience, watch this guy on Georgia because he's going to be a pro and some of you might not see it coming?
Man, I'm trying to think. I think Nolan Smith is a guy that I love watching the play. I mean, he plays hard. He just has a motor. We all know the Nakobe Dean. I mean, he's the top linebacker in the nation. But I think Nolan Smith for me is that game changing guy. We all know what Jordan Davis can do, but I think if Nolan Smith can do some things at that defensive end position in the game on Monday, kind of disrupt a little bit, knock some balls down. That's one thing we hadn't done all year is knock some balls down. Ours get knocked down all the time, but we haven't been able to knock some balls down if you can't get to him. I think he's going to be a really big surprise for NFL scouts, you know, and for an NFL team that picks him up.
Again, he's Israel Troop, former Georgia wide receiver. Now he is the co-host of the Believe in Georgia Dogs podcast and the Believe Podcasting Network. The national championship is this Monday night. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Israel, appreciate you jumping on today. Appreciate the insights, and good luck to your Dogs.
Man, thank you. I appreciate it.
Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday, 97.3 ESPN FM. We'll get back to you guys' thoughts and comments. I got a bunch of texts coming in at 609-403-0973. Of course, you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And we are live on YouTube at 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, Sports Bash Saturday. More next.
The College Football National Championship, presented by AT&T. The top-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide look to repeat as national champions when they face Kirby Smart's third-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Coverage begins Monday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. It's the NCAA National Championship game, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM. South Jersey's home for the College Football National Championship game.
Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we love to party. Order now for your next celebration. Chickies and Pete's online catering to go menu features more than 24 of your Chicky and Pete's favorites. Seafood, burgers, salads, and of course our signature crab fries. Click catering to see our menu, chickyandpete's.com.
Imagine the organizing possibilities with Lowe's, where keeping it all together comes with Project Source Clear Storage Totes starting at $238 and iDesign plus the Spruce Storage Bin starting at $1298. Clean up your closet with the Closet Made Brightwood Closet Kit starting at $119.98. Find it all at Lowe's Store and Save event, in-store and on Lowe's.com. Lowe's, home to any budget, home to any possibility. Valid through 3/18. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. U.S. only. iDesign plus the Spruce Storage Bin. Pricing excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Research shows that people remember radio ads with lots of sound effects. So to help you remember that Liberty Mutual Insurance Company customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need, here are some zany sounds. Saving on home insurance is no laughing matter. Liberty Mutual customizes your home insurance so you only pay for what you need. The money you save could change your life. It's time for you to take your insurance choice seriously. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Winter has finally arrived, and we are celebrating another remarkable milestone. Hi, Tom McAllister from McAllister the Service Company. December 21st is the first day of winter, and we are celebrating our 146th year in business. The legacy and commitment of honesty, integrity, and excellence that my great-grandfather started over 145 years ago continues today. For award-winning quality and dependability, talk to the experts at McAllister about your heating and air conditioning needs. Now is the perfect time to take advantage of discounts and rebates offered by the state and the utilities. And on a warmer note, after New Year's, there are only 11 Saturdays until spring. Talk to the experts at McAllister, 609-927-4122, or at mcservice.com for all your heating and air conditioning needs. McAllister, we cannot control the weather, but we can control your comfort.
Get to Matt Blatt Kia during the Command the Season sales event. Stuck in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia can get you released. We want to approve you today. Choose from the largest selection of certified pre-owned Kias at mattblattkia.com. So bring us any trade, no matter the make, no matter the mileage, no matter the condition. So treat yourself this holiday season and drive away in a new Kia. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig back here in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Yes, Matt Blatt Kia, let's get you approved today. Matt Blatt Kia on the Black Horse Pike at Egg Harbor Township. Visit them online at mattblattkia.com. I want to get to your guys' thoughts and comments. Now we have a bunch of texts to get to, as well as some messages on the YouTube channel, because the text board is always open for you at 609-403-0973. You can message the show while you watch us at 973 ESPN on YouTube. And, of course, if you're listening on the 973 ESPN mobile app, you could DM the show thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City. See a couple texts in here. There's a bunch of stuff that's come in since we started the show. So, Cole from LBI first talks about Devonta Smith and Justin Jefferson. I'll talk about this. Cole says, I think Devonta Smith is a great receiver, but Jefferson is putting up better numbers than Diggs did in the Vikings offense. Jefferson's ceiling is definitely higher. Jefferson can run routes, beat people off the line, and get contested balls. Smith is smaller, and I don't think he can beat physical press coverage as well as Jefferson. Cole goes on to say Smith has some great catches, but there have been games where he has been shut down. That's Cole from LBI. A couple things. First of all, is Jefferson putting up better numbers than Diggs because he's better than Diggs, or because the offense has hit full maturity with Kirk Cousins? Because think about it this way. I mentioned earlier what Stephon Diggs did during his career with Minnesota. Remember, he didn't have Kirk Cousins for all of those seasons. Okay? He still averaged 106 targets a year. But there were years that he had guys like Case Keenum throwing to him. He had Sam Bradford near the end of his career throwing to him. It wasn't like he had Teddy Bridgewater early in his career. Kirk Cousins is a more prolific passer than all of those guys. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. So don't get hung up on the numbers. Numbers are fluid nowadays because of the way the league is. Anybody can put up big numbers in an offense, okay? You know, no offense to anybody in today's game, but if Jerry Rice or Chris Carter or any of those guys who play in today's game, they'd have almost double the stats they had in their career. You can't even touch the receiver half time anymore. Jerry Rice would own this league. Jerry Rice would be a candidate for MVP every single year in today's game. So don't get too hung up on the numbers with Jefferson. Now, listen, I don't deny that Jefferson is a great route runner, but I think Smith gets off press coverage better than people realize. He's very elusive. He's very manipulative. Jefferson depends on his athleticism, while Smith depends on being more of a tactician. I think that Smith has been shut out some games, not because he got shut out, but because the Eagles just ran the ball some of those games. Think about the breakdown of Smith's season, all right? And we're not going to go through a game-by-game breakdown because I think half of us would turn off the radio and I would get bored as well. But the games that Smith didn't play well in, the Giants game, they had 4 turnovers. Didn't have a great game. All right? You look at a game like, for example, the Jets game, right? Think about how many times Minshew even threw the ball. Minshew threw the ball 25 times in that game. The Eagles ran the ball, what was it, 40 sometimes? It was ridiculous how many they ran the ball. They almost doubled the passing to run ratio. So it's hard for Devonta Smith to have a big game when either the team is turning the ball over or when they're just not throwing him the ball. And I don't think Minshew's skill set matches up with what Devonta Smith does well. The games where he has played well, for example, the Denver game was a road game. The Chargers game, they lost. He had a great game. The win over the Giants, he had a great game, but he didn't even have 100 yards in that game. He still had 5 receptions. The game he had the most yards in this year, the 2 games, actually, they lost both those games, the Chiefs and the Chargers. So don't judge Smith purely based on stats. Understand things happen in a game that cause receivers to not have good games. All right. I'm only using this as an example. I'm not trying to, lay any disparagement on anyone. But I think most people think that Calvin Ridley is one of the better wide receivers in the league today, right? I think most people look at him and be like, that guy's a stud, right? Calvin Ridley has been injured this year. So are we going to sit here and say that he's a bum? He can't play receiver? No. Calvin Ridley's best games this year were both losses. Loss to Washington, loss to Tampa. Those were his highest receiving yards and 2 of his 3 highest reception games. Julio Jones had a dubious stat where the Atlanta Falcons had a losing record when he had more than 6 catches in a game. So don't get hung up on stats. Every offense is different. Every offensive production is different. I think that when we start judging receivers purely on stats, it gets complicated. Dan EHT texts in at 609-403-0973 says, want to see the Cowboys lay down and accept their beat down. It's freezing cold in Philly. They don't want to be in Philly tonight. I call it a snot bubble game, says Dan EHT. Let's get a Cowboys beat down. Let's go Eagles. That's from Dan EHT. It's going to be cold. I mean, it was cold last night, and I was struggling to just get from the car to the house. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I am not going to lie about that. Joey D from Ventnor follows up and says, Josh, the Eagles-Cowboys game has lost some hype this week. So realistically, which free agent receiver do you think fits the best for the Eagles next year? Juju Smith-Schuster, Allen Robinson, Tajay Sharp, James Washington, Emmanuel Sanders. There's a bunch of others on the list. It's from Joey D and Ventnor. Joey D, here's the thing. I think some of the guys you named are not what the Eagles need. The Eagles need a guy who, when he stands on the other side of the field across from Devonta Smith, is going to make teams worry. No offense to a guy like Sharp or Washington or Sanders. Nobody looks at those dudes anymore with any sort of fear or worry. I think Washington has been underused in Pittsburgh because I think Pittsburgh has fallen in love with Johnson and Claypool, even though Claypool's had a rough year this year. I think Sanders is on the back end of his career. He's no longer a threat. And I think Sharp is best suited as a low-level 2, high-level 3 receiver in an offense. To me, Watkins is better than Sharp. To me, Watkins has a better potential than Washington does. And I think Sanders, like I said, is way past his prime. I like Juju and I like Allen Robinson. I think Robinson would be the best fit for the Eagles across from Devontae because Robinson does things that Smith doesn't do as well. Like Robinson is elite, in my opinion, at contested balls when he's allowed to actually go up and get the ball. This year in Chicago, I mean, he's been treated like a decoy half the season. I understand that you like Juju. My problem with Juju is this. I don't know where he's at in his career. He's had some injuries. How has he bounced back from those injuries? Is he the same player? Is he not the same player? I feel like if you bring in Juju, you got to make him come in on a prove-it deal. I feel like Allen Robinson, you might have to get into a little bit of a bidding war. But I like both of those options. My preference would be Allen Robinson. I see some comments from James and Jeff on the YouTube channel. We'll get to you guys on the other side. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Matt Black Kia Studios here on 97.3 ESPN till 2 p.m. today.
Coming up on the next edition of the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Coming up on Monday's show, we'll look back at the Eagles, Cowboys, and who will the Birds face in the wild card game. Plus all your Week 18 reaction and more. Casey Joyner, One Thought, Every Game, Jeff Kerr, Football at 4, and Grayson's Grades. That's all Monday.
The Sports Bash, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's sports leader.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Unfortunately, fraud and scams, both online and by phone, are on the rise, and much of it has to do with COVID-19. As always, our best defense against fraud is us. Here are a few tips from AARP to protect ourselves from scams in the new year. Improve your password protections by using dual password authentication. You've probably already done this. It's when you get a call, email, or text to verify something you're doing online. Also, make your passwords at least 12 characters long and do not use the same one for everything. Manage your emails and flag or block anything suspicious. Another good idea, copy your ID and credit cards and save them in a safe place. You'll have the account information and customer service numbers if your wallet is lost or stolen. And check your credit reporting for mistakes and unusual activity. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff, empowering you to live a healthier life.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Taco Bell presents a get-out-of-bedtime story. It's time to wake up from this amazing dream, even though you're jet skiing on lemonade. How extreme! And oh, look at that, you just won the lottery. Is that a castle? Take the keys, it's your property. What's better than swimming in space? Just wait for the big reveal. It's Taco Bell breakfast and it's actually real. So it's time to wake up and bid your dreams farewell, because toasted breakfast burritos are waiting for you, only at Taco Bell. At participating Taco Bell locations near you during breakfast hours only.
I'm Mike Mackler. At Goldenberg Mackler, we represent you, not the insurance companies. When seriously injured in any type of accident, call us. We'll speak with you for free and fight to get you the money you deserve. When injured, make the right call to Goldenberg Mackler.
For the best lawyer, call Goldenberg Mackler with 4 convenient locations to better serve you. Atlantic City, Northfield,
Rio Grande, and Vineland. Call us at 609-344-7131.
Get to Matt Blatt Kia during the Command the Season sales event. Stuck in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia can get you released. We want to approve you today. Choose from the largest selection of certified pre-owned Kias at mattblattkia.com. So bring us any trade, no matter the make, no matter the mileage, no matter the condition. So treat yourself this holiday season and drive away in a new Kia. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Pete from Chickie and Pete's, and we love to party. Order now for your next celebration. Chickies and Pete's online catering to go menu features more than 24 of your Chickie and Pete's favorites: seafood, burgers, salads, and of course our signature crab fries. Click catering to see our menu, chickieandpete's.com.
South Jersey's play-by-play home for the Eagles,
Touchdown!
Sixers, and Flyers.
He scored!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Now, Sports Bash Saturday. Here's Josh Hennig.
Second hour of the show here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you, being brought to you by my friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Football playoffs are just around the corner, so you want to get in on all the action at the FanDuel Sportsbook right off the boardwalk at Bally's Atlantic City. It's time to get on the game, all the games you love. Experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and much more. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet with FanDuel Sportsbook only at Bally's off the boardwalk in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coming up in about 20 minutes from now, we will talk with Emery Hunt from Football Game Plan, covers the NFL as well as college football. Talk with him about the state of the NFL playoffs, get his perspective on the Eagles and their offense. We'll ask him what he thinks of Jaylen Smith, Devonta Smith, Jaylen Hurts, and more. Jaylen Smith's a linebacker. Good grief, Josh. You guys can continue to chime in the conversation. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Of course, you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Sea City. And of course, you can message the show on YouTube like James and Jeff have done. We'll get to you guys' messages in just a minute. I want to remind everybody tonight, Eagles football coverage begins at 7 p.m. here on your home for Eagles football in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Tomorrow, we have an NFL triple header right after the locker room with Billy Schwein. You will have coverage of the Steelers versus the Ravens. Of course, the Steelers and Ravens both have to win to have any hope of getting into the postseason. So it's a win. It's a do or die rivalry game tomorrow afternoon. Following that, another do or die game for different reasons. 49ers versus Rams is the second game of our NFL doubleheader. 49ers win, they're in. 49ers lose, they need the Saints to lose. Meanwhile, the Rams, they win, they can win the division. If they lose, Cardinals can win the division. So big game in the second game. And then the final game, another win and you're in scenario. Chargers, Raiders, Sunday Night Football, triple header of NFL right here on 97.3 ESPN. Then Monday night, the College Football National Championship game with a ton of NFL draft talent on the field. Bama, Georgia, coverage begins after me on game night at 7 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. All right, that's the full rundown of the weekend. We've been talking about a bunch of Eagles, but talking a bunch of different things with receivers. A couple comments in here over on the messages through the stream. James chimes in, watching the show today, says, Josh, we have to think about acquiring Calvin Ridley than drafting John Mechie, the wide receiver from Alabama. Couple things, James. One, I don't think you need to draft another receiver. I think the Eagles need a veteran at receiver. I think the Eagles spent way too many draft resources on these young players. It's time to bring in a legitimate veteran and not Greg Ward. I like Joey D's ideas earlier. Joey D from Veterinary mentioned, guys like Juju Smith, Allen Robinson. I want a guy in here who has been through the league a little while. Calvin Ridley is interesting because I don't know what his long-term future is in Atlanta. The problem for Atlanta is they're still trying to make that transition into their new system. Now, Ridley has 1 year left on his contract. He was injured most of this year, so it took away the cap hit for this year. The problem with Ridley is in order to acquire him, it's going to take a little bit of maneuvering. And here's why. If the Falcons trade him, they have to do it. It would just be a money-saving move. It would save them $11 million. So what you're saying is you're going to take on $11 million for a guy with an injury history. See, that's my problem with Ridley. I think that this team, the Eagles, have taken way too many chances on injury guys. Second time with D-Jax didn't go so well. Why? Constant injuries. Why do people hate the Alshon Jeffrey contract? Because he was injured later in the contract. Early in the contract, he was fine. Later in the contract, couldn't stay healthy. Ridley has played only 5 games this year and only played in 13 games a couple of years ago. He only has 2 of his 4 seasons where he has played 15, 16 games. Now, when he plays, he's incredibly productive. When he plays almost a full slate of games, he gets 9, 10 touchdowns a year. But when he's injured, the numbers drop significantly. So, am I comfortable with taking on another injury past guy? Or would I rather go with somebody who doesn't have the injury history that Calvin Ridley does, like an Allen Robinson? That's my problem with Juju, as I mentioned earlier. I am not comfortable with bringing in a guy who has an injury history to an organization that has had trouble with guys staying healthy. When Allen Robinson's quarterback was Mitch Trubisky, this is what he did. He had 2 out of 3 years, 1,000 receiving yards. 2 out of 3 years, 6 or 7 receiving touchdowns. And the third year, we're talking about a guy who averaged 58 yards per season in the 1 year he didn't play as well. When he was in Jacksonville with Blake Bortles, I think it was Blake Bortles was his quarterback. Let me double check. But 2015, 2016, he had phenomenal years. Yeah, it was Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles was his quarterback. The dude led the NFL in touchdown receptions with 14. He is a very good receiver. Now, I understand he's 28, turning 29, but I think you need a veteran. That's where I would go personally. I like the idea of Robinson. You have the cap space to go out and get a guy like that. I think that's an option you have to factor in. Now, I mentioned about Juju. Juju's coming off an injury as well. He signed a prove-it deal with the Steelers, and then he got injured. His most productive year was 2020. The previous years before that, he was inconsistent. Sure, he was getting the touchdown numbers. Listen, Juju has 3 out of 5 seasons with at least 7 touchdown receptions. He's a productive player. But the yardage numbers have been completely just erratic all over the place. So I don't know if I love, again, a guy coming off an injury. Now, maybe you can get him for the cheap and maybe he's on a discount rate. And maybe you get him on a prove-it deal. That's how the Eagles got Alshon Jeffrey in the first place. Alshon was brought in here on a prove-it deal. They only gave him the longer deal after he outperformed his first deal. And frankly, for all the people who complain about Alshon Jeffrey's contract, Alshon was a very productive player in Philadelphia till the final set of injuries. If you go 2017 to 2019, just take out 2020. Take out the 2020 year. Alshon averaged over 6 touchdown catches a year, over 707 receiving yards a year, and 55 receptions a year in an offense where he was not the number 1 receiver. That was Zach Ertz. So he was very productive for a guy who, frankly, is slow. So if you want to give a guy like Juju a contract or a guy like Ridley and go out and acquire him in the last year of his deal, you got to do it with the expectation that guy is potentially not going to be healthy. Now, to me, Ridley and Juju are better receivers than Alshon Jeffrey. So you potentially are getting better talents. But I think that there's something to be said for all that. Jeff chimes in, says, I'd rather get Juju over Ridley if possible. Well, here's the thing with Ridley. You got to trade for him. It would be a straight up trade. Juju, you can get in free agency. Allen Robinson, you can get in free agency. Those are guys that are available outside of the trade market. Now, the other problem with Ridley is I don't know what Atlanta would ask for him. I haven't heard a lot of talk about Ridley being available, honestly. I'm assuming that Atlanta is going to want something significant for him, maybe a couple of draft picks or something. I mean, if you can get Ridley for like a 3rd round pick, I'm definitely doing it. But if anything more than a 3rd round pick, I'm out on that. Juju, at least you can get on a free agent, prove it deal. Maybe get one of those deals where like you overload the contract with a bunch of incentives, a bunch of markers for like games played, receptions, yards, touchdowns. Look at Antonio Brown. Part of the reason why Antonio Brown is a disgruntled baby right now is because he missed out on $1 million. Straight up. It doesn't matter what you think about the Tampa situation, Antonio, Bruce Arians, or whatever. The reality is that Antonio Brown could have had $1 million by the end of this year, if not more, potentially $2 million, and he missed out on all of it because he can't get along with people. And now he's out there throwing everyone and their cousin under the bus, trying to look like he's like, I don't even know what he's trying to look like. I mean, someone want to tell me what Antonio Brown is trying to look like? If anybody's seen the video of him talking, I have no idea. I mean, he looks like a villain from a 90s science fiction movie, right? Like he looks like he could be some like, oh my goodness. What was the name of that movie with Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone? I gotta look it up now. Demolition Man. There it is. I mean, what he looks like in that podcast, he's throwing everyone on the bus. He looks like he would be like Wesley Snipes' villain or his accomplice on Demolition Man. He looks like a futuristic villain out of typecasting. I'm sorry, that's not fashion. That's just bizarre. Okay. So a guy like Antonio Brown, he could have been $1 million. His entire contract, as he complained about, was built on earning it. It was an earn it, prove it deal. And the reason why is because, as you're seeing now, he's a dumpster fire. Okay. He would rather argue with people about getting snaps and getting touches than actually going out and playing the game. Juju is not a head case like Antonio Brown. So if you want to give a guy like him a prove it deal, do it. What I think the Eagles should do is they should go out and, if they could, sign both Juju and Allen Robinson. Give Allen Robinson the big contract, give Juju the prove it deal, bring back Quez Watkins, bring back Greg Ward, bring back John Hightower, and say, the best man gets the job. Let's go. And if Quez Watkins outplays Juju in training camp in the preseason, then you're not losing a bunch of money on Juju. Meanwhile, you will let Allen Robinson cement himself as the outside receiver with Devonta Smith. And now you have a legitimate passing offense with Dallas Goedert at tight end, with the offensive line coming back next year. And I think that Jaylen Hurts has proven that he can throw the ball. Okay. I am playing with this nonsense about Jaylen Hurts can't throw the ball, that Jaylen Hurts doesn't have a good throwing arm. Okay. Miss me with that. Miss me with that tripe. All right. You can only name a handful of guys with a better throwing arm than Jaylen Hurts. I can name a ton of dudes that Jaylen Hurts has a better throwing arm than himself. All right, let's keep it real. Jaylen Hurts has a better throwing arm than Gardner Minshew. He has a better throwing arm than a bunch of dudes around the league. He's a better throwing arm than Teddy Bridgewater. I argue he's actually a better passer than Drew Lock is. He's a better passer than Tyrod Taylor is. Davis Mills? Absolutely. Mitch Trubisky? Yep. Nick Foles? Not a stronger throwing arm, but a little more accurate at this point in his career. I think Nick Foles is past his prime, honestly. I think most people would say that right now, Hurts is better than Justin Fields. I think most people, if they're being honest, would take Jaylen Hurts over Andy Dalton, over Jared Goff, over Baker Mayfield. Ben Roethlisberger, he's retiring. You don't think the Steelers would love to have Jaylen Hurts over Mason Rudolph? Come on. Dwayne Haskins? Give these guys some real receivers. It'd be interesting. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN, where Jeff chimes in and says, I want AB to get his head checked. Here's the problem with the AB head check thing, and I'll address it here. I said this on Twitter to, I think the guy's name was Jason last week. Let's not assume that Antonio Brown has something wrong in his head, because there's a lot of people who have had a lot of head injuries in the NFL, like Steve Young and Lofa Totofu. There's a ton of dudes who've had head collisions and head problems, and they didn't turn out like Antonio Brown. Let's not be so quick to jump on the head stuff with AB. Let's be honest. A lot of times, people show their true colors when the going gets tough. You learn a lot about people when life doesn't go their way, when things get them down, when they hit rock bottom, okay? Nobody's perfect. I'm not going to act like I'm a better or something than AB. But I will say is I would never speak like AB does about anybody I've ever worked with, anybody who I consider a friend. I think Antonio is someone crying for attention. I think Antonio is a guy who is about himself. He's a very me first kind of guy. And I just don't respect the guy who quit on his team like that. I don't care that Bruce Arians told him to get out. There's a way to handle that. And he didn't handle anything well. And even if his ankle is as jacked up as he says it is, again, there's a way to handle that. He could have left his uniform on, gone to a security guy or to a coach or someone and say, look, coach told me to leave. Let's walk to the locker room. I'll wait in the locker room and we'll talk to coach then. We'll air out our differences when the game is over. Instead, he had a fit on the sideline like a petulant child. Until I have an expert diagnose him, I'm not going to go to the mental health head stuff, because I think it's too easy in today's world to use things like concussions and mental health as excuses for people's behavior. You are still responsible for your actions. You are still responsible for your behavior. If I were to do something like that, I'd be in trouble. Antonio Brown does it. He gets to dress like a sci-fi villain and go on a podcast and throw half the people he knows under a bus. Double standard. We got to stop treating athletes who act like petulant children like, well, you don't understand what he's going through. No, I don't. Because Antonio Brown couldn't walk a day in my shoes. There's a lot of people with a lot of problems out there, way worse than Antonio Brown's whatever is going on with him. If Antonio really needs help, he needs to go get help. Stop looking for attention. There's all kinds of stuff now with him swirling on the internet. A lot of stuff, I'll call it, okay? And we'll leave it at that. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of athletes we hear none of that stuff concerning ever. There's a lot of athletes we hear a lot of things about, and it ain't Antonio Brown stuff. Josh Hennig here at Josh Hennig on Twitter. You can follow me there. Coming up on the other side, speaking of Twitter, at FBall Gameplay on Twitter, Emery Hunt joins the show. Coming up next, we'll ask him about the Eagles, the state of the NFL playoffs, and more right here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And we are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Sports Bash Saturday.
Ryan Radke here from Westwood One with a preview of Sunday Night Football. Week 18 wraps up the regular season in Sin City with a primetime matchup of AFC West playoff contenders, the Las Vegas Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers. Both are 9-7. The winner will get the final spot in the playoffs. Join Ross Tucker and me for all the action from Las Vegas on Sunday Night Football.
Listen to Sunday Night Football on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 8 p.m.
Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we love to party. Order now for your next celebration. Chickies and Pete's online catering to-go menu features more than 24 of your Chicky and Pete's favorites. Seafood, burgers, salads, and of course our signature crab fries. Click catering to see our menu, chickyandpete's.com.
Have you wanted to speak a new language but thought it'd be too difficult or take too much time? Then try Babbel. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel teaches you conversations that you will actually use. With 14 languages and lesson topics like travel, business, relationships, and more, you'll learn what matters most to you. Babbel. Language for life. Learn a new language with ease. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan. You asked for it, and Matt Blatt Nissan has agreed. AJ, the trade man, has extended the sale because used vehicles are still at an all-time high. So drive directly to Matt Blatt Nissan, and AJ will give you top dollar for your trade or even pay you cash on the spot. So cancel that service appointment. Don't even wash it because Matt Blatt Nissan needs your trade. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
This tax filing season could be one for the record books. There are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits on the table, and Jackson Hewitt will help make sure you get every one you deserve. Tax credits for being a parent, taking care of a parent, taking classes, and so much more. Don't leave thousands on the table. Jackson Hewitt will make sure you get credit for all you do and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more and find your nearest location at jacksonhewitt.com.
Every 2 minutes, someone is injured in a drunk driving crash. Every 51 minutes, someone is killed. Drunk driving is still the #1 cause of death on our roadways. Drugs, other than alcohol, are involved in about 18% of motor vehicle driving deaths. These deaths are 100% preventable. Never drive after using drugs or alcohol. Have a designated driver, call a taxi, or use a rideshare service. This message is brought to you by Join Together Atlantic County. For more information, visit jtacnj.org. That's jtacnj.org.
Jackson Hewitt needs you to know 3 things about filing taxes this year. 1, there are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits on the table. 2, you have to file for them to make sure you get the right amount. 3, a Jackson Hewitt Tax Pro will help track down every credit you deserve. Tax credits for being a parent, taking care of a parent, going to school, and so much more. You don't want to miss out on thousands. Jackson Hewitt knows that. Discover thousands in tax credits and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
I'm Mike Mackler. At Goldenberg Mackler, we represent you, not the insurance companies. When seriously injured in any type of accident, call us. We'll speak with you for free and fight to get you the money you deserve. When injured, make the right call to Goldenberg Mackler.
For the best lawyer, call Goldenberg Mackler with 4 convenient locations to better serve you. Atlantic City, Northfield, Rio Grande, and Vineland. Call us at 609-344-7131.
O'Reilly.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the 3rd time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Are you a Philly sports fanatic? Do you love to travel and cheer on our hometown squads across the country? If so, you need to check out Philly Sports Trips. Join your fellow Philly sports fans and book your trip with Philly Sports Trips to cheer on the Birds this spring at the 2022 NFL Draft in Las Vegas, where the Birds have 3 first-round selections. They have everything covered. Airfare from Philadelphia, great hotel on the Strip, draft night party, group events, and more. To check out how to travel with the pros at Philly Sports Trips, check out phillysportstrips.com/trips/Vegas Draft.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on 97.3 ESPN Sports Bash Saturday, hanging out with you live in the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Dig deeper into the NFL this weekend. Of course, NFL Week 18, the first NFL Week 18. So weird saying that, honestly. Who are the Eagles going into the playoffs? Well, you're not going to find out who they are tonight because they're going to basically not play half the team, looks like, tonight. So to get more into who the Eagles are, what they are, and what we can expect from the NFL this postseason is one of the best to do it, one of the best analysts out there. He is Emery Hunt. Follow him on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. And, of course, you can check out his YouTube channel, Football Game Plan. He is one of the best in the business. Emery, how you doing this Saturday?
I'm doing fine, Josh. I appreciate you having me on.
I appreciate you jumping on. And as I mentioned before you came on, we're not going to really know who the Eagles are tonight. So, who are the Philadelphia Eagles? What is this team heading into the postseason from your analysis?
They're a young football team, one that has done a great job in finding an identity on both sides of the ball, which has helped them finish 7-2 down the stretch, which is huge for the team because you want to build momentum toward the back end of the season. You're growing as a team, which means you're building camaraderie, you're building continuity, and that's why we're seeing what we're seeing out there on the field.
You mentioned that identity. Part of the season, Sirianni said they didn't have an identity. I want to know from you, is what you've seen from the Eagles offense what you expected they should be able to do? Have they exceeded expectations? Are they right around what you think they could do?
No, they're right where I expected them to be and what I expected them to do. I've been saying this since August. I was on CBS Sports HQ saying, hey, the Eagles are going to finish second in the NFC East. They have the second best quarterback in the division. They should be a top 5 to top 8 rushing football team. And I feel as though right now they're number 1. So they're right along where I expected them to be. And if we go back to the earlier parts of the season, their issue wasn't the offense. It was a defense that really couldn't stop anybody. So defensively, they've caught up to their offense's ability to do a lot of different things. I know we talk a lot about the run game, but you go back to that game against Atlanta, it was death by 1,000 cuts with their ability to throw the football at all levels of the field. So now the defense is able to stop people and turn the ball over. Their offense is still having that continuity. And we go back a few weeks, if their defense was playing the way it is now against the Chargers, they beat the Chargers. So this is a football team that probably is playing some of its best ball going into the postseason, and a team that I wouldn't want to play.
You mentioned about the defense getting to where they are now and how the offense has found their identity. How much of that also is the young coaching staff? How much of that is guys who have never done these jobs before, basically learning on the job?
It's funny to even listen to you say that, considering you don't want to hire pro coaches that haven't done jobs before outside of the head coach, but you talk about play callers and coordinators that haven't, done that role. That's why we saw a lot of what we saw in the first 7 games of the season. And, good for the Eagles that those guys figured it out and, just start playing their best players and playing to their players' strengths, as opposed to trying to figure things out. Otherwise, we'd be looking at a team that would have been 4-12 or something like that. But kudos to those guys and kudos to the organization for allowing those guys the opportunity to figure it out.
Emery Hunt joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Check out the YouTube channel, Football Game Plan. Of course, you can catch him also over on CBS Sports HQ. Emery, you mentioned the quarterback a little bit earlier. You've been very consistent in your, shall I call it, belief in Jaylen Hurts in an era where I feel like people are so hung up on the minutia of stats they don't actually watch the game sometimes. So as someone who does actually watch the game and break down tape, what is it that you've seen from Jaylen Hurts that impressed you before the season, and how has he grown since then?
Well, you look at his calm nature, and that's something that you saw back at Alabama, back at Oklahoma, and you saw it last year in this short sample size with the Eagles. So that was number one that you see. All right, this guy is never rattled by pressure, whether it's pressure from the opposing team or pressure of the situation. So if you have that ability to keep everything even keeled, even when things are going great, you're definitely going to play winning football. And fast forward to what we're seeing now this year, we're just seeing him be a little bit more consistent in flatlining his play. So it's never highs then lows. It's now, almost like a heart, not even a heartbeat. It's almost like a steady, slow pulse. And that's what you want, because it allows the offenses to breeze down the field, to have some consistency. That's why you see a lot of Eagles drives end up in points. Whether that's a touchdown or a field goal, the offense is just consistent. Even if there's a mistake, it doesn't rattle him, because his calmness allows him to, okay, next play was going here's let's focus on the next play. And that's the thing. Everybody, I feel like nowadays, just wants the quarterback position to look like the same thing, as if it's read in a book. Like every quarterback has to play like this, when really there's different styles to every quarterback and different ways to win games. And this is the Eagles' way to win games with Jaylen Hurts. It's the Bills' way to win games with Josh Allen. It's the Packers' way to win games with Aaron Rodgers. You can't expect everybody to play the same way. And I think once people get out of that mindset, that's when they'll start to appreciate guys like Jaylen Hurts. And we're also now at a time in the NFL where guys like Jaylen Hurts can actually get the opportunity to play. Because prior to, let's say 2000 or even 2005, those guys weren't getting and we're talking about black quarterbacks, weren't getting the opportunity to really play like a Jaylen Hurts. They would rather you be great out of the gate. And if you're not great out of the gate, you're out of the league. So we're seeing guys like Dak Prescott, like Jaylen Hurts, be able to grow into a position, even though they weren't first round picks. And that's the true sign of progress, in my opinion.
You mentioned about the guy not being a first round pick. I think that's very important, because a lot of people look at Jaylen Hurts, and there's a lot of reporting out there that the Eagles drafted him because they didn't want to miss out on Russell Wilson again. There were a lot of reports out that the Eagles wanted Russell Wilson. They waited too long to get him, and that Howie Roseman was there then. He didn't want to miss out on him now. Does Jaylen Hurts at all compare to Russell Wilson?
Absolutely. We talk about Russell Wilson. What was the most important thing you saw from him early in his career, and a little bit throughout his career, to be honest, but early on, it's the calm nature of his game. That's why he was able to really step in as a rookie and lead that team to the playoffs, and in the second year, go to the Super Bowl. And so if you're able to thrive, and just like Jaylen Hurts, he thrived at two separate universities. Russell Wilson was a Hail Mary away from having Wisconsin in a national championship game. Right. So when you look at how Jaylen Hurts plays and how Russell Wilson plays, they play the same game. Wilson may have a stronger arm and may have a more consistent deep ball, but that's, breaking it down into where they differ. But where they are the same is what you really need to play quarterback, is that mentality of no play is ever, you can't live and die on every play. You have to be even kill, and you have to have a next play mentality. And you also have to understand, which Jaylen Hurts understands, I have my athleticism in my back pocket. So if all else fails, I can just take off and run. So that level of understanding of one's game and situation and the calmness is why Jaylen Hurts is having the success he's had.
I mean, another guy I want to ask you about is Devonta Smith, because I think that people are not giving this young man credit for the fact that he came into an offense that was one of the worst offenses in the NFL last year. He's the number one receiver, doesn't have a ton of help across from him, basically. And he's going out there. He has more receiving yards, more targets than anyone did on the Eagles last year. And I think that, people always like to bring up, well, the Eagles should have picked Justin Jefferson. They took Rager, right? Well, to me, I think Devonta Smith has done more with less than Justin Jefferson is doing right now in Minnesota.
Yeah, considering he has Adam Thielen on the other side, and you look at Smith, and what stands out to me the most about him and why he's having so much success is because he understands the passing game. How many times this season have you seen Smith work back toward Jaylen Hurts or work back toward the football and make receptions? And that's huge. Normally you see young receivers, okay, I'm gonna run this route and this is the route I run. If you don't get it to me, then we got to go on to the next play. But Smith is constantly working himself open, understands positioning on the football field, coming back to Jaylen Hurts, helping his quarterback out. So he's playing like a 10-year vet already as a rookie.
Yeah, I love watching him. I personally, now, I might be wrong. You could tell me I'm wrong. We've known each other long enough that I'm willing to take some criticism. But I think Smith actually could be a better receiver long-term than Jefferson.
It all depends. I think they play completely different styles. So, but it's all going to depend on, how they continue to grow. And we've seen Jefferson now continue to take steps forward. Smith, to me, is more of a bona fide X, someone that's a bona fide number one. And Jefferson, to me, is someone that is a good receiver, but he has those lapses in games where he has some drops or whatnot. But every receiver goes through that. I don't feel like you see that from Devonta Smith. I feel like the ball that goes his way, that is within his catch radius, will get caught, and he's not afraid of contact. So I think they play different. They play differently, and they're both excellent receivers.
Emery Hunt joining us here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Follow him on Twitter at FBall Game Plan. Of course, you can check out his YouTube channel, Football Game Plan. Just one word, Football Game Plan. Boom, YouTube.com. Emery, let me ask you about a couple other teams before I let you go. One of the teams the Eagles could face in the playoffs are the Rams. And I think there's a lot of disagreement, shall we call it, around different people, because the Rams have won games when Stafford throws 3 interceptions. They've also lost games when he throws a bunch of interceptions. What are the Rams, and are they a beatable team?
The Rams are a beatable team. They have a lot of good players on that team on both sides of the ball. Arguably the best defensive lineman in the game in Aaron Donald, arguably the best cornerback in the game in Jalen Ramsey. Good set of complementary players around them, some good talents. We're seeing Von Miller now step up and start to make plays for them offensively. We know about Cooper Kupp, who should be the MVP, in my opinion, if it's not Jonathan Taylor. You look at that offensive line, stable. They have some other good wideouts as well. Van Jefferson is another good one. So they and Odell Beckham Jr. obviously is a game breaker. So they're good. But Stafford is Jared Goff with a stronger arm. And that's the problem that's going to hold them back. He was 8-67 leaving Detroit against teams with winning records. 8-67. We've seen Goff take the team to the Super Bowl. Unless the Rams get to the Super Bowl, this trade was a waste, and we're seeing why I said back in the summer they traded for a stronger arm, Jared Goff, because we're seeing the same mistakes that he made in Detroit. And now they can't blame, everything around him, without looking at the common denominator for a decade. He has to play better. And so, yeah, they're a very beatable team.
The team they played tomorrow are the 49ers. 49ers have to win to get in. What are the 49ers at this point? Because a couple of years ago, they're in the Super Bowl. It looks like they're going to move on from Jimmy G after this year. They've had it feels like a million injuries in the last 2 years. I feel like that team is the most injury-cursed team in the league at this point. So what is Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers right now?
They are another team that's like Philadelphia, where they do a lot of creative things within their run game. And if you're not ready to stop the run, you're not going to stop San Francisco. They have arguably the best tight end in football in George Kittle. Defensively, their front seven gives them a chance to compete every game. They have a wide receiver in Deebo Samuel that's almost like a running back. He's someone that's a game breaker because he can do anything with the football in his hands, and then that can really put the ball in the paint. So if they get stable quarterback play, they are going to be tough, because coming off play action with their ability to run the football and how that defense seems to be opportunistic, they are a very tough team. So this is a team that could also beat the Rams. I mean, they've had the Rams number the last, 5 times they've played. So, if you're San Francisco or Philadelphia, you have a lot of teams that's at that 1, 2, and 3 spot, or even 4, if you want to count Dallas, that really don't want you in the playoffs and really don't want to see you in the playoffs. So if you're a lot of teams, you're probably hoping the Rams beat San Francisco and the Saints beat the Falcons, and you get the Saints instead of San Francisco in a first-round matchup.
Speaking of San Francisco, who's coach of the year? I mean, is it Shanahan? Is it Peyton if they get to the playoffs? Is it Sirianni? Is it Zach Taylor? Like, who should be coach of the year, Emery?
I think Zach Taylor. You look at, he was on the precipice of probably getting fired. Everyone, constantly, dogged him all throughout the time he's been the head coach. And now things are starting to click. They're winning these close games that they lost last year. I said this before, they weren't a bad team. As their record indicated, they lost a lot of close games. Now they're winning these close games. Yeah, they had a couple clunkers in there, like the Jets game that they should have won, or even that Packers game with just a weird series of missed field goals and extra points. But this team is definitely trending in the right direction. They're playing good on both sides of the ball. I think because of the turnaround that we've seen from the Bengals, that's the coach of the year, in my opinion.
Are the Bengals then like a live dark horse for the Super Bowl then?
I believe so. They can score against anybody. Their defense is athletic. They're opportunistic. They can get to the quarterback with Trey Hendrickson. I love that second level they have with those linebackers that can run, chase, and cover. The secondary is going to be a direct beneficiary of their ability to get pressure. And so, yeah, they're playing with a lot of confidence. And when you have a young team that's playing with confidence, all you need is an opportunity in the playoffs, and they're getting that opportunity. So, yeah, they're one of those dark horses.
Emery, before I let you go, I know you also cover the NFL draft and watch college football religiously. I want to ask you, the national championship game at the FBS level is this Monday. I say that because I know you also cover the FCS. There's more than one national championship, I know, talking to you. Who are the guys that are going to be on the field for Georgia and Alabama that you want people to watch for that are going to be guys in the NFL?
Well, you could just watch the entire game and see all draft prospects, because there are a lot on both sides of the ball. I'll just say one guy in particular that I'm intrigued by, that I really like how he runs. And, since it's catered toward Philadelphia fans, I would keep an eye on him as someone that can help them out. Nakobe Dean, the linebacker for Georgia, is someone that I would take with one of the 3 first-round picks the Eagles have, and maybe a later round pick, considering what the depth is right now with the Eagles. Listen, you just focus on Georgia. George Pickens, maybe in the second round, big wide receiver that doesn't mind going up and get the football, would be a nice Eagle selection. And also later in the draft, considering, like I said, how the depth is going, someone like Zamir White. He runs extremely hard. He's physical. The Eagles right now need another bruiser outside of Jordan Howard. If they decide to bring Howard back, someone like Zamir White would be an ideal fit with this Eagles run game.
Very interesting names right there. Really quick, how does Nakobe Dean compare to Roquan Smith for you?
They're about one and the same, and Dean is a extremely smart football player, and an extremely smart person as a whole. So when you have a smart football player combined with the athletic traits that he has, he is tremendous. And this is someone that really can play on both ends of defense. You talk about stopping the run, but also in coverage. He makes a lot of plays out there, and that's why I think he's going to be one of the top linebackers to go in the first round.
He is Emery Hunt. Follow him on Twitter at FBall Game Plan. The YouTube channel is Football Game Plan. Incredible analysis on the NFL, college football, the draft, and more. He is the man you want to check out for all that information. My friend, I appreciate you jumping on the show on this Saturday. I'll let you get back to watching the FCS game.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Josh Hennig here on Sports Bash Saturday on 97.3 ESPN. Always great stuff from Emery Hunt. Always good to hear from him. Great stuff he gave you. He says Nakobe Dean could be a guy the Eagles should draft. I'm telling you right now, I hear a lot of people saying Eagles need defensive help. You got 3 first-round picks. If the Eagles walk away and one of them is Nakobe Dean, he just said that he thinks Nakobe Dean and Roquan Smith are almost one and the same. Imagine having Roquan Smith on the Eagles defense right now. How much more confident you as an Eagles fan would be, or you as a fan of another team would be concerned about a team with a Roquan Smith level player on the Eagles defense. And Emery just told you Nakobe Dean and Roquan are almost one and the same. Eagles got 3 first-round picks. One of them could be Nakobe Dean of Georgia. And you could hear that game this Monday night here on 97.3 ESPN. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. Of course, tonight, Eagles football versus the Cowboys here on 97.3 ESPN FM. We are your home for Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, college football, the NCAA tournament, and more, all right here in South Jersey. With more of your thoughts and comments on the other side, of course, you can text in the show. You're listening on 97.3 ESPN FM at 609-403-0973. You can send a DM if you're listening on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of CLC. And we are live on YouTube at 97.3 ESPN. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Sports Bash Saturday.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. It's the final week of the 2021 regular season with the Eagles hosting the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, it's Eagles-Dallas is what it is. This is a big game. There's nothing normal about playing against the Dallas Cowboys.
Pre-game coverage begins tonight at 7 p.m. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 8 p.m. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Pete from Chicky and Pete's, and we love to party. Order now for your next celebration. Chickies and Pete's online catering to-go menu features more than 24 of your Chicky and Pete's favorites. Seafood, burgers, salads, and of course our signature crab fries. Click catering to see our menu, chickyandpete's.com.
Make 2022 your year to glow at Ulta Beauty's Love Your Skin event happening now. Upgrade your skincare routine and discover your healthiest skin yet with up to 50% off daily beauty steals from faves like Tula, First Aid Beauty, and Clarins. Feel your best with a skincare routine made just for you. But hurry, this event ends January 22nd. Shop in-store, online, or try curbside pickup today. Ulta Beauty, the possibilities are beautiful.
Hey, Pete, how's business? It's great. Foot traffic's still way down, but more people are finding me online. Nice. How'd you pull that off? Well, the first thing I did was go to mylocalcustomers.com to see exactly how many searches there were for businesses like mine. So I guess there were a lot? Yeah, there were hundreds of local searches every month. So after I saw that, they helped me position my business online to get in front of those customers. That's awesome. I wonder how many people are searching for my services around here. Well, it's quick and easy to get the answer. Plus, it's free. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com to find out. If there are a lot of searches, you should definitely get in front of them. If there aren't, no harm, no foul.
Go to mylocalcustomers.com for a free local customer analysis that will show you how many customers are searching online for your type of business. It's quick, easy, and free. Visit mylocalcustomers.com. That's mylocalcustomers.com.
Hey, Carrie, we need that tax report by tomorrow. Hey, Bobby, give me that expenses.
For Hari's accounting firm, client growth is exponential.
We're a couple of accountants short.
He needs whip-smart accountants at whiplash speed.
Hey, so why aren't these receivables matching up?
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Instant Match instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your sponsored job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
As a local bank with deep roots in Cape May County, Crest Savings Bank's directors, management, and employees are all part of your community. We are your neighbors, friends, and family. Our financial centers serve your personal and professional deposit, loan, and wealth management needs. We are thankful for the opportunity to serve our residents and visitors for over 100 years by providing small-town customer service with modern products. Crest Savings Bank, banking is what we do, community is who we are. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $700 on average, and those savings add up. Imagine what you could buy in the future.
Remember how 15 years ago I switched to Progressive? Well, I used all those savings to buy that golf club that swings for you. But now everyone who plays golf is really good because, the club swings for you in the future, which is now.
So switch to Progressive and save big because those savings can add up in the future. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National annual average insurance savings by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive in 2020. Potential savings will vary.
At Church's, we're doing 10 pieces of our crave-worthy comfort made spicy or classic. That's 10 legs and thighs packed with bold flavor. That's how we do value. So you can do the Church's 10 starting at $10.99 deal. Church's, bringing it down home flavor. Offer valid at participating locations.
Get to Matt Blatt Kia during the Command the Season sales events. Stuck in a loan or
release? Matt Blatt Kia can get you released. We want to approve you today. Choose from the largest selection of certified pre-owned Kias at mattblattkia.com. So bring us any trade, no matter the make, no matter the mileage, no matter the condition. So treat yourself this holiday season and drive away in a new Kia. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
This is Sports Bash Saturday with Josh Hennig, live from the Matt Blatt Kia Studios. Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig on Sports Bash Saturday, being brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Dallas Hotel Casino in Atlantic City. The retail sportsbook is located right off the Atlantic City Boardwalk with 5 betting windows, a large video wall, a sports ticker, 20 self-service betting kiosks, and various lounge seats. Experience sports betting done right at the FanDuel Sportsbook, only inside Dallas Hotel Casino in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, a couple texts and a couple messages in here before we get out of here. Of course, text board is open as always at 609-403-0973 to get on the conversation. You also can DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank Seattle City. We are live on YouTube at 973 ESPN. Before we get to the comments, I want to remind everyone my bet of the week, thanks to FanDuel Sportsbook, is the over 44.5 in the Rams 49ers game. I just think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Everything I've looked at with that game tells me that it's one of the few competitive games out there, right? So it's one of the only games that you legitimately look at and you know 100% for sure there's going to be competition because both teams have something to play for. You know, it's one thing if only one side has something to play for, but when both sides have something to play for, that's when it gets interesting, right? That's when you're like, all right, I know, like, for example, the Bills-Jets game tomorrow. It's a 16.5 point spread. Are we really sure that that game is going to be competitive the whole way through? Like, I think they're going to get Stephon Diggs his stats tomorrow because, you know, he's got that incentive clause. If he gets X number of yards, X number of catches, you know, he's going to get all these incentives from his contract. So I can totally see that happening, but I just don't see a ton of situations where, like, for example, Stephon Diggs right now is plus 112. He gets over 6.5 catches. Well, he needs 6 catches to get the incentive on his contract. So are we really sure he gets 7 catches? Plus 112. So to me, that's why I'm going with the 49ers Rams game. The over-under is 44.5. So that's one of my big picks for the weekend. Over on the text board at 609-403-0973. John from Cape May chimes in. He says the Eagles should get Calvin Ridley. Him being a former teammate of Hurts could really help Ridley and get Juju on a prove-it deal. Hurts is much better than all the quarterbacks you just mentioned, and he's not even playing with a true number one receiver. Smith will be, but isn't a true one yet. Hurts is a winner. I think he's a top 10 potential in the NFL. Go Eagles. That's from John and Cape May. Couple things, John. Number one, like I said, I'm not against bringing in Ridley. I just don't want to give up too much to get him. Like, for example, if the Falcons tell me it's going to take a first or second round pick, I'm not doing that. I don't like guys who are coming off of injuries and giving up too much to get them. But that's me. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's my perspective on it. I just don't believe in a guy like Ridley or Juju giving them too much to come in here. Give Juju a prove-it deal. I'm good with that. Personally, I like Allen Robinson, but if you walk away from an offseason with Ridley and Juju and you bring back Watkins, you bring back Greg Ward, you got some depth, you got some competition going in the next season at receiver. And you now have Sirianni Lopes' competition. So, in terms of what Hurts' potential is, he definitely is a winner. I think that you can win a championship with Jaylen Hurts. I don't know if he'll ever be an elite quarterback. You heard Emery say that Jaylen doesn't have Russell Wilson's arm talent, but he has all the other qualities that Russell Wilson has in terms of leadership, in terms of poise under pressure, in terms of the mobility in terms of, being able to, brush off his shoulder if he makes a mistake and move on, still try to win the game. The Eagles purposely drafted Hurts because they didn't get Russell Wilson years ago. If Hurts can be anywhere in the realm, in the neighborhood of a Russell Wilson, you got a winning quarterback here. And I think that I want to see what he does next year. Jaylen Hurts has 4 straight years of playing 4 different offenses. We have no idea what he looks like in year 2 of a pro-style passing offense like in the NFL. We saw him go from Alabama to Oklahoma, then Oklahoma to Doug Peterson's offense, and Peterson's offense to Sirianni's offense now. Next year will be the first year we see what he can really do in progressing and evolving as a quarterback. And honestly, I don't know what that's going to look like yet. I'm curious to find out what it looks like, but I think Jaylen has a chance to grow. I want to see what that growth looks like. All right, coming up tonight here on 97.3 ESPN, Eagles, Cowboys, Mel Reese, Mike Quick on the call tonight on 97.3 ESPN FM. Tomorrow, NFL triple-header, Steelers, Ravens coverage begins after Billy Schwein in the locker room here on 97.3. It would be Billy Schwein, Pete Thompson, I believe Mike Carlin in the studio tomorrow on the locker room with Billy Schwein. And then after the Steelers-Ravens game, we have 49ers-Rams, followed by Raiders and Chargers. I'll be back on Monday on game night following Mike Gilman's Sports Bash. And then Monday night, the College Football National Championship game. Of course, you can hear all these games right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. I'm Josh Hennig, at Josh Hennig on Twitter. Have a great weekend, everybody. Catch you on Monday.
The College Football National Championship, presented by AT&T. The top-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide look to repeat as national champions when they face Kirby Smart's third-ranked Georgia Bulldogs. Coverage begins Monday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. It's the NCAA National Championship game, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM. South Jersey's home for the College Football National Championship game.